Hey, what's going on, team? It's Ricky with Low Plan Profit. Hope you guys are all having a great start to the morning. Sorry for the delayed start. I'm going to start sharing my screen so you guys can see exactly what it is that I'm looking at. Here we go. Boom. This is pretty much what I've been watching during pre-market hours. It's been the downtrending / CL. We did a pretty good job up until around 1 to 2 a.m. in the morning for / CL. It was holding above the middle of the op. It wasn't really progressively making higher highs by any means. It was still trading between like the middle and bottom of the op and making lower lows and actually getting rejected by the overall SMA line. Now we're approaching kind of like where the middle VWAP is at, and a lot of consolidation. Looking at how overbought the RSI is, looking at the MACD and stuff like that, it almost makes sense on why it can pull back and maybe even continue to downtrend. And if so, that would be in favor of DWT. So I'm just going to set my alert there and simply follow up with it. So we could calculate what the margin of profit is on this one. Again, it's not huge. It's about a little bit under 2%, but it's a decent amount. Let's go ahead and see what happened here. We got to hear some DGAS. DGAS again. Well, let's go ahead and check out / NG. / NG was doing a beautiful job showing signs of an uptrend during pre-market hours, right in between the middle and top VWAP. As of right now, it's still trying to progressively push up. I don't know if it's going to make higher highs. I'm kind of struggling to identify its direction because it was pushing up, but then it began to really consolidate. And again, we've seen this multiple times for those that have traded with us from time to time, that after, especially very close to or near to market open, it becomes a little bit more on the overbought side. It starts and begins to change directions instead of actively trending up. We could see this thing begin to sell off. So I just want to give it a little bit more time before I decide, what to trade. / GC, a lot of consolidation, not really making higher highs, not really making lower lows. It did an amazing job yesterday pushing up. Right now we're kind of just flatlining, as you can see right here, which means that it would almost offer like a horizontal pattern for JNEG and JDST. The last one that I wanted to talk about very quickly is / NQ. We did a nice job on the better half of yesterday of it showing signs of an uptrend. As of right now, again, it is kind of showing signs of an uptrend, but it's also extremely overbought. So not too sure how much SQs has to, in a sense, sell off. And then when it comes down to the correlating ETF, TQs, and how much more it has to push up. So you could calculate the margin of profit, see if that's even worth it for you. If it is, great. If it's not, for me, it's just not. It's less than 0.5%. I just want to give it a little bit more time to decide, maybe what's a good trade and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and go from here. Let's see. All right, let's check that. Check this out. FOMC. So is this for a day trade or a swing trade? Oh, it doesn't. I don't know if you were trying to type in like FOMO or something like that, but yeah, nothing came up. I'm going to start setting my series of alerts right now just so I can get set up. I don't see anything really changing right now. I do see / NG kind of showing signs of a peak formation with the RSI and the MACD. Let me know what you guys think about that for / NG. What's going on, Brendan? What's up? Hope you guys are all having a good morning. Again, I do apologize for the delayed start. I was initially studying TOS, and then I went ahead and I grabbed just myself a cup of water and stuff like that. So I know that I took a little bit longer than I normally do to restart it. Traded penny stocks. Yeah, we have again, especially for people not that are just getting started, but just in general. We've talked about it multiple times of how difficult it could be to manage the risk for lower cap stocks such as penny stocks and pump and dumps. That's why I personally try not to talk about them nor trade them, because we want to try to lead by example. Some people do well, but on a consistent basis, they're just, I don't want to say that majority of people don't. It's just it's riskier, right? So yeah, you can do well, but then you could definitely lose it all in a very quick rate just because of the volatility. So I do apologize for that, but again, hopefully it's a lesson learned, and then we don't have to make that mistake again. Good morning. What's going on, Landon? What's up? What's up? There we go. /NG. You guys didn't even let me know. /NG showing signs of a potential little sell off. Let's go ahead and check this out. Nice little push up. Let's see what happens here. So I have /NG on my right hand side. Let's see if it breaks below that middle VWAP. I want to check out /CL as well. I'm still showing signs of an uptrend. So it's still pushing up very nicely. Let's see, nice. Wow. So I set an alert for this thing as it approaches yesterday's support to see if it still validates it as a support. Let's check this out. There we go. Like the natural gas report, yeah, there's like a crude oil report, which is normally on, what's it called, Wednesdays like today, but because of the holiday on Monday, I believe it gets pushed back one day. What's going on, Jake? What's up? I hope you're having a good start to the morning. I don't know if you guys saw how active I was on Discord last night. I stopped responding to messages at around 1 maybe. But then I was starting to respond to messages on Instagram and on Facebook at around and emails at around 2 to 2:30. I could not sleep, and it really bummed me out and stuff like that. So when is the crude oil report? I believe it's 1 hour after the market opens on Wednesday. I think watching Ricky every day is my most stable relationship. Well, I okay. I hope it gets better. Does crude oil affect natural gas in any way? I mean, based on them both being commodities, I'm sure there's some form of correlation, but I've seen multiple times where natural gas is pushing up and crude oil is still downtrending. So I mean, a perfect example was when crude oil was actively downtrending and natural gas was still pushing up. Okay, so I'm gonna go in with 100 shares. All right, so I got filled at 83, and there it goes, pushing down. Let's check this out, /NG. So there we go. We got the break below the EMA line and the break below the middle VWAP. I just added 100 shares, which is a 1/3 position size. No, it's like, I would say I'm only gonna trade probably with 200 shares today, or $20,000, which is still a good amount of money, but I just want to make sure that if I hit my daily goal of the $500, I could walk away and that be it. So I thought the volatility for natural gas was going to come back after the performance it had like on Friday and on Thursday and stuff like that. But it was just definitely not the case for this week. Is that DGas streaming on my iPhone? Yeah, that was DGas. So natural gas as of right now. Again, why did I buy into DGas and stuff like that? Well, natural gas was showing signs of an uptrend, and if it was continuously showing signs of an uptrend and trading in between the middle and top VWAP or the SMA line and the top VWAP and making higher highs and higher lows, I would obviously want to invest in or trade UGAS, right? But one thing that we've noticed is that it's starting to show signs of a resistance right around the SMA line. It didn't make higher highs anymore, so the progression at the rate that it's growing is slowing down. It pushed up, showed signs of a peak formation, as you can see right here, as you can see with the RSI, as you can see with the MACD, and it began to make lower lows and lower highs. I waited for the break below the EMA line. I waited for the break below the middle VWAP, and then that's when I added my first 100 shares. I'm probably going to add more to my position if and only if natural gas continues to push down. Which means that DGAS will then push up. So UWT, it looks like it's still showing sign of an uptrend. Again, just because I'm not trading it does not mean that it's not a good trade. But I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of its current uptrend. Again, right now its current pattern is trading in between the EMA line and the top VWAP. So it would make sense to sell here and then watch it as it sells off. It consolidates here and then pushes up. You see the pattern. So if there's a break of pattern, obviously manage that risk and stuff like that. So Ricky, do you think 5 weeks is enough time to absorb the LPP course? Yes, I think it's enough time to complete the course. Do I think that it's enough time for you to be ready to start trading? No, I think a lot of when it comes down to trading, at least in my experience, has to do with trial and error and to test out every single concept that you learn. Just because you review it doesn't mean that it's going to make sense right away. So it's a lot of that's why I've talked about if I were to be someone that's going through the course, I would watch 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes of material a day, and then dedicate maybe 2 days and practice and implement it and see if it works for you, and then refine it to make it rather unique for your trading style, and then go again, right? CRON just broke above $22. A really strong push up. I personally would not trade something like this, but I know the reason I'm talking about it is because a lot of people see value in this. I think it's extremely overbought. I think it goes through some form of manipulation. It is showing signs of an uptrend. So if you see value in it as a day trade and you're managing your risk, then great. But obviously right now, does not show to be a good deal by any means. How have you guys been feeling? Correct me if I'm wrong, but how have you guys been feeling about the market? Do you feel like it's getting a little bit slower with some of the stocks that you're trading? Do you feel like you're doing better now because it is slower? How are you feeling about the past 2 weeks have been past 3 weeks for me, including this week, have been very sluggish. Obviously today's just the second day of the week, but yeah. I've been swing trading, okay, very slow. It's been super slow. I'm struggling in consistency. Yeah, slow, I don't like it. Yeah, and I think this is almost a perfect example. If I can give this analogy, again, you guys know when it comes down to having a business, right? There's some months kind of December, right? Months where there's high spending. Or maybe during tax season, because a lot of people like to spend their tax returns, which you guys should not. You guys should save it or invest it in something that's worthwhile, that could probably make you money. Again, it's just doing those simple little things that other people don't do. But one of the things that I notice is that kind of like a business, we have our slow months, especially for trading as well. So I want to make sure that during these times, because we were so accustomed to the volatility being there, it being very easy to determine direction, being able to clear on a consistent basis, like, and exceed our daily goals. Um, we were absolutely killing it during like November and December, and I just remember people like sharing like, oh my god, like this is the most money I've ever made like on a day, and it just continued to break, and I was right there on that train as well. And then the transition from like December to January, we really started to see that to slow down. I just want to make sure that like you guys are aware that if the direction, like, there needs to be guidance and like structure and rules like with your trading, and if you see that within a day, if the direction is not there, if it's just not worth it to take that trade, that you're someone that's disciplined enough. And again, it's much easier said than done, but if you truly see that the opportunity cost, right, we've talked about it before, is not worth it, as in the $495 phone to sell it for $500, that is not worth your time. You don't have to trade every single day, right? Just like if you start a business and it's like a in-person location, or it's a specific type of store that's online that like does extremely well during like high volume months, but that dies down a little bit during like winter. There's nothing wrong with taking a step back, and I just want to make sure that we like understand that. I would just hate for someone based off of like them getting into trading during that month that they thought they had it all figured out, and now all they're doing is just draining their account. I feel like maybe some people can relate to that, but I just want to make sure that like it's said and done, and it's reminded that like there you should be empowered to say more no than you do yes, as a trader and stuff like that. So that's actually shared in the course, but it's just linking your watch list and linking your charts. You see how there's a one here and a one here, so that allows me to click on the stock itself, and then, or the ticker, and then it allows me to populate it right away. So it makes it a little bit easier for me and stuff like that. But yeah, exactly, Robert. Yeah, I'm just waiting for some form of direction to happen. Let's get on, Colby. Hope you have fun in class. Thank you again for tuning in, man. Yeah, /GC might be a little bit on the overbought side. I agree. Looking at the highs of yesterday, I could 100% like relate to that. And looking at where it's been kind of getting rejected and stuff like that, with the resistance around like 13.48, just looking at the past like 4, 5, 6 hours, that's been the resistance, and the support has been more around here. Margins are not huge, so yeah, something that you'll have to be aware of, especially when it comes down to like overall opportunity cost. What's going on, Raf? You cracked me up, man. There you go. What's going on, Gabriella? What's up? What's up? So Dung Nguyen. So for swing trading, after we have the confirmation and the break above the 180-day EMA, should we enter right away, or wait for the pullback? So just answer it in a way that makes sense to you. There's no like right or necessarily wrong way. It's whatever, like, if the pattern is extremely consistent and something continues to uptrend. So I think like we had two examples that we were talking about this week, where it wasn't TNDM. I remember them. One was Solo, right, if I'm not mistaken, or it was Loco. Let's check this out. Yeah, it was definitely not this one. It was something like this, right? LOCO, where it showed a very consistent sign of an uptrend pattern, and that pattern and direction was there. If you feel comfortable enough based off previous patterns to get in right away, then okay, it makes sense to you. But ultimately, I would feel much more comfortable if I would to see signs of it making higher highs, if it were to be above the SMA line and stuff like that. So it's whatever it is. And again, this is how you're going to refine and come up with like your trading best practice, and a specific style that works best for you, because we all see value in different ways. I just want to make sure that you feel extremely comfortable while you're swing trading something. So if you see value in this pattern, what did it do before it actually continued to show signs of an uptrend? Was it just, like you said, just one pullback and then it just shot up? Most likely not, because we don't know if it's actually going to bounce or if it's, going to continue to sell off and maybe break its pattern completely, as it 100% can do. Same thing with something like COR, what is it? No, it's X, right? Very consistent pattern with that. Yes, it pulled back a little bit. Look at the RSI, look at the MACD. Might have a little bit more to pull back. And I think one thing that can interrupt its overall uptrend is the up and coming earnings report. Yes, it did help out last time. Will it help out again? Not too sure. Again, I don't personally like to hold things during earnings. I feel like it's a coin flip, right? But ultimately, again, it's however it is that you feel comfortable trading something. If you feel more comfortable waiting for higher highs and the overall confirmation to be there, then that would make more sense. If you're someone that's a little bit more aggressive and is okay with getting in at the initial pullback because the overall direction is in your favor, then that can be an alternative as well. But again, there's no right or wrong way, because the patterns are always changing and they don't always confirm at the same exact time. But you will notice that as you become more familiar with these swing trade patterns and overall confirmations, and for each specific stock that you trade, they all react differently, and you have to approach them differently. And I think one of the best ways to do it is in a more conservative way, with the understanding that you do wait for the higher high confirmations, and you're more reluctant to you're not as just what's it called, just entitled to add more right away to your position, because we don't know if it's going to continue to uptrend and stuff like that. So I don't know why it's highlighting DGAS as like a bad thing. Not too sure. Yeah, I noticed two things with ticker symbol DGAS. So right now people are saying that DGAS is pulling back. Again, no, it's still above the middle view up, so it's still very easy to see this thing uptrend for natural gas. But one thing that, again, we've pointed out multiple times before, again, for those that have been trading with us for some time, you guys would have seen it happen. But the last time that natural gas consolidated like this, it had a really nice rally. Obviously, the volatility was much greater, but it had a really nice rally to the SMA line, and then it continued to downtrend, getting rejected by this overall EMA line. We could potentially see the same thing here, but again, there's just no confirmation just yet. We don't know if it's because it's overbought now that it's going to continue to downtrend, or if it does have that potential. There's a lot of uncertainty. I did notice something on the 20-day 1 hour chart where it was getting rejected by the overall SMA line, and now we're barely above the SMA line. So maybe there can be a change of direction, but again, it's still way too early to tell. So that's why I'm just reluctant. I feel like, again, it would be a coin flip to kind of try to guess. And we're not talking about just small margins. These are huge margins that if natural gas were to push up, great, it would push up very aggressively for you guys. But the same thing can happen if this thing were to sell off and be back at the support, then that could be a huge hit to you guys as well. And then there was a pattern that one of our members showed me yesterday. I think it might have been on had to be like a larger chart, but it showed that that could not have been this. I don't know if it was like the 30-day chart or something like that, but that it was showing signs a little bit more of a downtrend and stuff like that. But yeah, I just want to give it a little bit more time. And again, that's my style. If you are confident, and I want you guys to feel empowered by this, if you guys are confident based off of your track record and based off of your experience that, hey, I think natural gas is going to sell off, then I'm not here, again, we've said it multiple times, I'm not here to hold your hand or tell you what or what not to do. I'm just here to share my opinion just like everybody else, and what has worked well for me, right? We're all here to kind of share our ideas. As long as we're open-minded and we're okay with hearing other people out, then that's okay. TROX, what's going on, James? Okay, so it was a very aggressive descending pattern, and then recently it started to push up. So I would look into what caused this change of direction first and see if that catalyst will drive and continue its overall uptrend. Also, as an up and coming earnings report, which I would definitely look into. How do you improve your control of emotions while trading? Again, as meant like that's a very like open-ended question. It's kind of like asking like as like a little kid, and when you wouldn't get something right, you would cry right away. Most likely, like the normal child would cry right away because it just was not in your favor. It's like kind of the same thing when it comes down to like the trade. As you're just getting started, you might get upset right away. You're much more emotional because you have less experience managing your just emotions and how to like accommodate them. As time goes on and as we become more refined and more developed, again, that's why I continue to say like position size is a huge thing when you're just getting started. You should not be trading with a large account whatsoever. I don't care if you have $100,000 to your name. I will treat you like everybody else. And it's great that you have a very strong foundation to build off of with a lot of capital. But when it comes down to the knowledge and the experience you have, you're just like everybody else, right? And I would much rather see someone like be a little bit more conservative and approach it in a much more like, okay, my account should accommodate where it is that I am right now. And that's someone that's just getting started. And that's the current state that I'm in, because a lot of mistakes are going to be made. So I think as long as you're empowered to learn and learn new things and refine your trading best practice, you will slowly become more comfortable with managing risk, understanding that it's part of the game. And just like maybe like in adulthood, right, you'll only shed a tear when it's something significant, right? Same thing when it comes down to maybe trading. But yeah, that was a beast analogy, wasn't it? That was good, man. But yeah, obviously other people deal with emotions better than others. Um, I knew kids that would never cry, right? Crazy people. How can you identify a good buy? Well, Sam, there's a lot that goes into it. I feel like that was. Have you completed the course? We've talked about multiple different things of like understanding patterns, right? Um, Understanding direction. If you want your account to grow, invest in patterns that are showing signs of growth, making sure that the opportunity cost is worth it, and that's in your favor, right? That it's a good deal, and then you could sell it for a profit, and the direction is in your favor, as in it's making higher highs, and you understand the pattern, so you can manage your risk if there's a break of pattern. There's multiple different variables, especially if it's like a day trade or short-term swing trade and stuff like that. So I would encourage you, to understand what are better buys and stuff like that, to practice, to paper trade, and to see what patterns you work best with, when, and refine your best practice, like when to buy and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I think direction, understand. How many of you guys, like before being a part of our group, didn't pay much attention to direction? And how many of you guys now like have a huge focus on like confirmation and direction? I really I want that to be something that we talk about. So are the affiliate links working again? Yes. If you've emailed us and stuff like that, or you can feel free to direct message me on Discord the email that you used to enroll in the course, and then we'll get that set up by today. Yeah, Aaron, just because you completed the course like last night, this is what we've talked about, of being able to implement everything that you learn on a consistent basis until it makes sense. Like you need to begin to practice now. So great, now you know the material, and you're probably gonna have to go back because you're supposed to practice what you learn on a consistent basis. I don't know if you're any different, but I can't take 3 hours, or I mean 7 hours to 8 hours of information remember it all and implement it. It's just not how I'm wired. It takes me, I have to do it in like sections, right? Okay, so I see a lot of people worked well with the understanding of why is Diaz. I think there's so many people are saying it. How do I change the... Sorry that a lot of the people that are using like ticker symbol DGAS are getting like held or something like that. I don't know if you guys can like spell it a different way or the inverse of you guys, if that's going to be our joke for the day. But yeah. Okay, Jess, can you give me an example of what you mean by that? When you're like throw more example trades into the LPP course, so people, are you talking to me about like giving more examples of like a series of swing trades and why it makes sense, or a series of day trades and why it makes sense, or maybe some descending patterns to avoid and why? Is that something that you're talking about? Do you still plan on redoing the LPP course? Of course. Yep. Okay, I see. It's kind of like a before and after. Yeah, no, I don't think there's... It's all good. Here we go. So DGAS is starting to push up a little bit. Natural gas is beginning to sell off just a little bit. It's pulling back. I wouldn't even call this a sell off. Again, it did this last time, so let's just hold back a little bit. So we've been live for 31 minutes. I'm going to go live for a little bit longer today, so instead of 30 minutes, just because I was late. I feel like I owe you guys some time, so I hope that you guys are okay with that. More swing trade examples would be awesome. Tyler, if you want more swing trade examples, I'm going to add that to my notes. I'm going to give you more swing trade examples. I'm going to put for Tyler. Boom. For the boys, right? You guys crack me up. So me and the guys here always say that thing. And again, it's a joke. And I hope that like the ladies that are part of this group don't... It's not anything to like be like sexist or anything like that. It's just a little joke that we have. Obviously, like me and the guys here are like super close. So when we say like, oh, should we race, and like, oh, for the boys, or let's go eat here, and then for what? For the boys. It's honestly, it does not make sense. It's a complete joke, and I just like making you guys laugh, and it looks like it works from time to time. So I hope you guys are okay with it. 100% MH. So do I see myself trading something differently other than /NG? I wanted to give it, I was almost done with /NG. There's just a lot of, and again, perfect setup, and how we talked about that gold was overbought. Now it's a little bit more on the oversold side. So again, it's been following that pattern, but I've been hesitant to like continue to trade /NG because of that within itself. Again, everything has its seasons, and it just looks like natural gas is just starting to die out, and it's just becoming more inconsistent. And that's, it's obviously like that was like my bread and butter for like the past like 3-4 months. It's just not there yet, or anymore. So I just have to understand that. So but yeah, so now I just want to give it a little bit more time to see if it has any more potential to continue to rally for /NG, and if so, great, and if not, then we'll have to wait out and see and find something better to trade, right? Do you see my message? I asked the same question. Oh, what's your question? I didn't see your question, bud. Sorry about that. Thoughts on TNDM? It looks like it's approaching its overall support. TNDM has been very inconsistent for me. I do have it in my list. So it's approaching intraday support. So I see what you're talking about here. If we were to view it as a horizontal pattern, we don't know if it's going to bounce here, but it'd be right around $50. We could see some form of consolidation, here. We could wait for it to break above the EMA line and begin to make higher highs. The RSI is good. I like that. The MACD is still descending. So I'd set a couple of alerts, and I would ask myself and set up the whole plan, right? Yes, it did hit highs of almost $51. I would approach this with a more conservative resistance. And let's say you get in at an average of like 50-40. If you average up accordingly, the margin of profit is less than 1%. Ask yourself, for a lot of those that are under the PDT rule, this might not be a day trade that is worth taking, right? If you're going to take, you don't even have to take 3 trades. If you see one day trade that offers 3 to 4% and your goal is 5% a week or 3% a week, how beautiful would it be just to have to take one position? Again, it's about quality over quantity. And, just because I day trade multiple times within the day, because I'm over 25K doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do the same. Should I keep holding CROX or trace now? Again, it's up to you. It looks like it's building no support here. This is, I don't know where you're managing your risk. If you have a stop loss at 1 or 2%, it's pulling back a little bit to about the EMA line. And based off previous patterns, it does pull back majority of the time. We don't know if it's going to pull back and bounce off the EMA line. Don't know exactly where you bought, but again, I'm looking at the RSI and looking at the MACD. It makes sense on why it has a little bit more to sell off because the MACD is barely beginning to descend and stuff like that. So, of course, Morgan. But yeah, that's just my, opinion. It doesn't mean that it has to. I just want to share that with you, and you make what you can of it. Can you explain the pattern that you guys is in currently and why it's happening? Well, right now it's just consolidating. It's just, it has its seasons for like volatility. If there's like a lot of demand for natural gas, like we've talked about during like the colder months, the transition from like summer to like fall to winter, it makes sense on why the volatility is there. But now we're transitioning from like winter to spring, and the demand isn't so high, so it begins to move at a much slower pace and kind of just consolidates. So /CL is freaking ripping it. Look at how consistent that's been. Look at that. We were talking about this when it was around the middle VWAP. So look at that. 2%, not bad. Is it? But now look at this. And again, this is just based off previous patterns. But it makes sense on where it's at right now that maybe it's not the best deal, right? Ricky, why don't you take a look at UWT? I was just so focused on /NG that I just didn't want to, and I know I probably should have. I favor /NG right now. I wanted to give it another chance, but again, it's not even about just me taking a position. I'm just happy that we're able to identify the pattern. I said that it was overbought anyways. It's nice that it's continuing. There hasn't been a break of pattern yet. Can you guys tell me what would be a break of pattern? What's the support and resistance for UWT, and what would be a break of pattern? So if you're trying to day trade this, where would you want to buy near, and where would you want to sell close to? EMA and VWAP, top VWAP, right? Below EMA would be a break of pattern. I like that. I like that. Sniper, right on the money. Yep, I like that, Andy. So the pattern that we are seeing right now, again, like you guys might be like, well, what the heck? What are they talking about? It's an uptrend pattern, and it has a support at the EMA line and a resistance at the top VWAP, right? what would be a break of pattern, so maybe where you might want to cut losses, right, or manage your risk, is right now, what is it doing? It's making higher highs and higher lows. When it begins to change directions, we'll see it consolidate most likely, or we'll just see a break below the EMA line and then consistently make lower lows and lower highs and no longer begin to uptrend. That would be a break of pattern and where that turning point would be. So I just want to share that with you guys, as a lot of you guys obviously would know. Yep. And again, that doesn't just mean that it breaks below the EMA line. It means that it progressively makes lower lows. I like that, Eric. Let's just make sure we manage that risk and lock in those profits. I want to check that out. I haven't seen it in a while. Pretty low volume. Okay, and then looking at the overall like high points and low points, ERIC is a little bit on the higher price point right now. I see the MACD that it does have potential for it to maybe to continue to uptrend. So don't be afraid to lock in profits. But yes, I do see why this thing can uptrend. It's just still below the EMA line. So I would just be a little iffy about that and stuff like that. Guys, this is like, I think, one of the slowest moving days for natural gas since we've traded it. I don't know. What do you guys think? This has been one of the slowest days. It literally has not moved. I'm at the exact, I bought at 105.83. Thumbs up for the boys. Very slow. Yeah, it sucks. It's counterproductive, right? It's like, do I even want to trade when it's this low? It becomes like not worth our time. I don't short stock, so I don't feel like that would be a very effective, I could probably make a video and talk about like what shorting is and stuff like that, but I don't have any approach, but when it comes down to like shorting, so I don't know like why I would try to instruct people to do it. Also, the reason, I would view Learn Plan Profit as a course for also people that are like also just getting started. I don't think that it's the most effective approach, just due to the understanding that a lot of newer traders struggle with managing risk. And again, I don't mean to throw anybody under the bus. It's a statistic for newer traders. They're not the best at managing risk, which means cutting losses. When it comes down to shorting a stock, there's no dollar amount in which that you can lose. So yes, pump and dumps suck because they push up and then they pull back, but all you could lose in a going long is what you have invested. I would hate for someone to take part of a pump and dump and then this thing continues to rally and push up for months and you lose like an uncontrolled amount of money. It's a variable that I just don't want to be a part of. Do you guys get what I'm saying? I just would hate to put anyone in that position. So we have a huge focus of consistency. We have a huge focus in investing in, uptrend patterns, and just want to stray away from like shorting. And it's just not something that I do. And I hope that that's something that you're okay with. I really appreciate you asking that. We get that question a lot. I don't think there's anything wrong with me making a video maybe explaining what shorting is, but I would not have the most effective like best practices for shorting because I just don't do it. So yeah. Let's check this out, forwards. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't think it's coming out today. Nice little push up though, still following through with its pattern. It's almost showing signs of a peak formation. Now it's touching the top VWAP for forward/CL. Do I always sell at the middle VWAP? No, it's just more of an approach because like I can day trade multiple times. So if something is approaching the middle VWAP, so a perfect example would be something like this. Like as this thing was pushing up and it was as it was downtrending, first of all, like it broke above the SMA line, great, it's above the EMA line, I buy here. It pushes up, pushes up, pushes up. A lot of consolidation here. I would most likely sell because I don't know if it's going to break above the middle VWAP. And if it does, then again, I can just get back in again and then go for the little rally. So I just think it's a safer approach because we don't know if it's going to continue to uptrend or not. Yeah, I think /CL is going to be the move today. This thing has absolutely just ripped it. It doesn't mean that it's going to continue to uptrend. It just means that even if it ends up like selling off, that it would be something worthwhile to even just watch. Natural gas is not doing anything. I'm sorry about that, guys. Like, there's just nothing that I know this live stream was probably a little bit boring. I had so much fun in yesterday's live stream. But yeah, this one kind of sucks just because there's not a lot of activity. No, not at all. No, that's like the last thing that you should that you should feel like just because you see something uptrend, if it makes sense to you, like this is like there's like the ideal like paper trade and you can actually trade with real money. But even if you just like look at charts, even if you were just to look at charts and just try to like see, okay, I would have bought in here, I would have sold here. I see why it makes sense to continue to add more to my position size as something's uptrending, and all that stuff. There's nothing wrong with just observing, right? You learn a lot from just watching, as long as you don't kind of like approach it in like I think the way that you're saying it's like, oh my god, I missed out, FOMO, let me get in now. I don't think that's the most effective way to learn. I think that you can learn a lot from just watching patterns, and if it were to get rejected, what happened during that time, again, because you have no emotions attached to what it is that you're observing, so you'll pick up on a lot of different like indicators and indications, and when's the proper time to buy, when's the proper time to sell, and refine, right, your trading best practices and stuff like that. So but yeah. I agree, Chad. Yep. Appreciate that, Robert. Thank you. Yeah, nice little push up on ticker symbol UGAS or natural gas. But again, it's right back up to that resistance around 2.68, and then we're kind of just there. So I'm actually, look at /CL. We're starting to see a little bit more red candles. Let's see what happens here. Swing trading DGAS? Heck no. No, I'm not swing trading anything. What's up? What's going on, Billy the Kid? Here we go. Testing. Again, and we are touching the top VWAP and zooming out a little bit. We're at around the resistance from yesterday, right? And here we go. What's going on, Matt Daughtry? Vincent, Sam? What's going on? What's up? I wish you guys had all your names. It's kind of hard to talk to you guys when I actually have a video in the course talking about why I don't hold during earnings. Not sure if you've reviewed it. I also have another video on YouTube if you want like a different explanation. But it just has to do with the idea that I'm a technical trader, right? And earnings is a positive or a negative catalyst. And there's a lot of fundamentals that come into mind. And even then, sometimes its overall guidance can be off and just completely shift. It's like an uncontrolled variable at that time. It's almost like, I don't want to say a guessing game, but there's always like a chance that it might not go up. So I would rather just not be a part of it. And then if I see that the momentum is still there when the market opens or during pre-market hours or during after-market hours, whenever the earnings report is released, that I take part of it then. And that just because I control and manage my risk throughout the entire trade. Ricky, you need to have a live in-person training. That's actually the idea that we're going to have for when we have the TechBud Solutions headquarters. So once we have that all established, we're going to be looking at more buildings once we come back from our trip from China. But yeah, that's one of the things that we're going to be setting up, where I can trade live with you guys side by side. And I think it's something that no one else offers. So for all those that are part of like our, TechBud Solutions facility, then you guys can trade side by side. I don't know how open we'll have it and how many members will allow in and stuff like that, but that's kind of the idea. So, and we also wanted like a fun and safe place for people to like network and then to meet our team as well. And I feel like that would be it. And it would give us also a location to get our work done away from our house, and also establish a dealership for cars. So, all right, guys, I'm going to close out the live stream here. I want to thank you guys again so much for your time. I really do, again, apologize for kind of like the slow live stream. There's just not a lot of activity with what it was that I was watching. It looks like a lot of the momentum today was with /CL. So I hope some of you guys played it out well. If there's anything that I can do to better assist you, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm going to grab some food real quick, and then I'm going to go live for my second live stream. So I hope that you guys absolutely kill it today. Continue working hard, continue following dreams, let your passion be what drives your success. Learn something new, make someone smile today, and like always, let's make sure that we win the year on a green note. Take it easy.